YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Ready for liftoff at the Kennedy Space Center.
Hey, let's go to the moon!
The Artemis II crew now in countdown mode. Commander Reed Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Cook, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen.
We are ready. NASA is ready. This vehicle is definitely ready to go.
Along for the ride, a stuffed toy named Rise, the crew's zero-G indicator.
And our buddy here named Rise was submitted by second grader Lucas Yee from California.
The original February launch delayed by a hydrogen leak and pressurization issue. Liftoff will mark the first time humans have ever ridden in the Orion space capsule, perched on top of Artemis. And this is what will happen once in space. Take a look. You can see the Orion space capsule that will enter an orbit around the Earth, going around twice. And then it will head towards the moon, where then it will reach its furthest, or hopes to reach, the furthest the humans have ever traveled into space, 280,000 miles from Earth, something never before achieved. All of this will be accomplished in just 10 days, a mission that then paves the way for a future return to the lunar surface and maybe a permanent establishment of a human presence on our own natural satellite.
It's a stepping stone to Mars, where we might have the most likelihood of finding evidence of past life.
And the Artemis crew will see a part of the far side of the moon that not even Apollo astronauts saw.
This is an exciting time, and it is going to truly test our mettle.
The first Canadian, first woman, and first African American to head to deep space.
It's about human history. It's the story of humanity, not black history, not women's history, but that it becomes human history.
And setting the stage for landing astronauts on the moon in 2028. So this will be the first time that NASA has launched astronauts into deep space since Apollo in 1972. Yes, they've had some technical challenges. NASA insists they will not take any risks with these astronauts' lives. They will only go when they are 100% sure it is going to be safe. Weather right now, 80% go for a Wednesday launch. So we will all be watching very, very closely, of course. Guys, back to you.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. The countdown has begun for the Artemis II launch, which of course is taking place on April 1st. I mean, what other day could you possibly pick for NASA to attempt to return to the moon? Because, of course, as we all know, April 1st is, of course, April Fool's Day, and you have to be a complete fool to actually believe that we've ever landed on the moon in the first place, because clearly we can never get back. And even this mission that they're going on April Fool's Day, well, it's pretty much a middle finger to everybody out there. And of course, they know that the joke is really on the majority of society who believe in all the lies that they've been indoctrinated with from a very young age. I mean, the whole purpose of April Fool's Day, the premise, is to trick unsuspecting individuals, which would be the majority of people. And of course, usually they're practical jokes or pranks, but they can also include hoaxes. So, of course, we would include all the above when it comes to the actual moon landing. I love it. They tell us some of the reasoning why we can't go back to the moon, which we'll get into in this video. Of course, we have to be careful. We have to protect the actual astronauts. We can't put them at risk, but, of course, the technology, which has advanced so tremendously since the first time we supposedly landed on the moon, is not good enough in 2026. You could watch football on your toilet on your phone. You could pretty much do anything you could possibly imagine with the technology that they've actually given to us, let alone the technology we know they have hidden from us, which is way more advanced than what we actually see. But the reason they haven't gone back to the moon is that they're afraid to fake another actual moon landing, because so many people have actually caught on now with technology. It's actually been used against them since the internet and everything else has come out. People have realized that they've been taught a history of lies. The people have actually gone through the footage over and over and over again with a fine-tooth comb to actually notice that we never went to the moon in the first place, that it was actually green screen. So they're afraid to give us new footage of people on the moon because they're afraid maybe their AI will have a glitch. Maybe we'll end up seeing somebody with 4 fingers instead of 5, like we see with some of the AI videos they release of people at the White House speaking, like Donald Trump or Netanyahu, where you mysteriously see fingers disappearing because you realize, wait a minute, they're actually using AI in these speeches. They're actually using green screens in these speeches, and so on and so forth. Many people have noticed, right? So April Fool's Day, and of course, the real fools are the people who believe it. They've told us this for years. They've mocked us so many times. Remember movies like Dumb and Dumber? The whole premise of the movie, of course, are the characters. Jim Carrey's character, Jeff Daniels' character, Dumb and Dumber. They're really, really dumb. And they show you that whole man walks on the moon and Jim Carrey yells, "We landed on the moon." And everybody has a big laugh in the audience like, oh, he's so dumb. He didn't even realize that we went to the moon. But really what the directors and the producers were saying is that you're dumbest. While they're Dumb and Dumber, you're dumbest because you actually believe that we did. So NASA, of course, as we all know, you can even look at the logo, the serpent's tongue in NASA, the great deceivers that they are. What they're trying to do now, as we lead up to this April Fool's joke, which is being played on the people, is they're trying to convince you as to why we haven't gone back to it. There's articles out there every single day. Why haven't humans been back to the moon in over 50 years? Of course, this is how they program the Sheeple, so that when they hear you explain how we didn't go to the moon, they automatically will repeat what they hear on the news. That's what Sheeple actually do, right? We see all the fools on the internet, right, who try to debunk people who actually debunk the moon landing, right? Moon landing deniers are idiots, right? This guy talking about everybody who says that moon landing deniers, they don't have a clue what they're talking about, right? Completely programmed Sheeple, like this guy, Professor Douchebag here, who obviously looks like he loves bagels. That schnauzer couldn't get much longer, could it? But this guy, if you haven't seen him before, a complete fool. All he does, he claims to be a professor, and he repeats everything he learned in school on his channel. So he debunks people who actually have woken up to the lies of the world. People who talk about certain topics like the moon landing. And then these kind of clowns go out there and they're like, well, I'm highly educated. I have a master's degree, so I'm going to go out there and debunk these fools who are claiming that the moon landing is fake. And I'm going to repeat everything I hear on the news because I'm so programmed, I think, that I'm actually learning knowledge. And now I'm going to spew it back out there so that people don't actually wake up, right? That's what these fools actually do. We have them all over the place. These debunkers, obviously we've seen so many of these fact-checking news institutions now. They call themselves news institutions, which are clearly paid by the government to put out these articles about debunking so that they show up first in the search engine. So anybody out there who's waking up to things that are real simple, like the moon landing, well, they immediately find toxic information, which again continues to re-poison their minds through repetition. So we know the moon landing is obviously fake. It's a Freemason operation. You can look at Buzz Aldrin, right, doing the 666. Proud Freemason that he is. He's even admitted it. And this is the type of evidence that people should actually look at. These aren't misspoken words. Okay, this is him on Conan O'Brien talking about how, well, you think you saw a moon landing, but what you actually saw was animation, admitting that the images that were shown of a moon landing weren't real, but the audio was real. And he even goes on to say, what a great line, right? Telling you these are scripted lines that are fed to them. I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. Listen to some of these quotes from Buzz Aldrin himself, if you haven't heard him before.
I remember very clearly, I think anybody who was alive at the time does. I remember my parents waking me up and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. So you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories.
I know.
Well, what we saw was we all were gathered around the old rooftop radio and listened.
Talking about, how many feet we were going to the left and right. And then I said, contact light, engine stop. and a few other things. And then Neil said, Houston, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed. Man, how about that?
That was very exciting.
Not a bad line.
Yeah.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. It's my question. I want to know what I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
And we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon,
No,
which
you didn't.
was...
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. There wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation.
Again, you have one of the people who supposedly went on the moon, who's a proud Freemason, holding up the 666 sign, admitted Freemason. Where's the, which we'll get into momentarily here, but he openly tells you that it's animation, that we never really went to the moon. I mean, he's dead sober on a national television show. Shouldn't that be enough for people to say, whoa, what's this guy talking about? But they're so programmed, they just go, oh, they just dismiss it. They don't even know how to accept the information that they're being given. Oh, he must be joking around. He's trying to be funny because he's on a television show, right? Or when he's talking to a young little girl and he's like, well, how are we going to... He's like, that's not a question for a young girl. Well, we never went there in the first place, right? Oh, he misspoke and his tongue was tied, right? Multiple occasions talking about how we've never actually gone to the moon. Again, you can see him in his Shriner's hat. You can see them all the guys. Buzz and Neil. These are all Freemasons. You can even see Buzz Aldrin here. I'm the boss. A picture he posted on one of his personal social media accounts. Look at his ring. See the ring there, the crescent moon and the star. Of course, this all goes back to Baphomet worship. That's where we see the crescent moon and the pentagram on the forehead. Again, the star is a pentagram. The logo of a star, which you'll see, or the image of a star, I should say, the 5-pointed star you see on the Dallas Cowboys helmet. You'll see it on every company logo. Nobody ever notices. Why do all these companies use stars? What's the big... I mean, is this a star in the sky? Everybody loves looking up at night. Everybody's got a telescope and is looking up at stars, and they're like, hey, I'm going to start a company called Starbucks. I'm going to put a star in it. Hey, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to put a star in it. I'm going to put a star in it. I'm going to be real original in my marketing. Because they're all told to do this. This 5-pointed star is a pentagram. You take the lines out and you get your star. But if they actually had the lines in it, people would be suspicious. And they'd say, hey, isn't that a pentagram? What is this, witchcraft? Right? When you see the lines in it, everybody says it's witchcraft. Associated, around Halloween, we all see all the decorations people put out. They sell it now at stores. That's how ridiculous it's gotten, where they sell pentagrams at stores. And then they go, oh, it's just Halloween decoration, right? But if you take the lines out, you go, wait a minute, it's in every company's logo. What's that all about? All these celebrities have it tattooed all over their bodies, right? Of course, that's part of the deception. So the crescent moon and the pentagram, which is on the Baphomet, we've even seen that, of course. And this infamous pizza place, Comet Ping Pong, I'm sure that was just a coincidence, too, that a place that was trafficking children inside and out, and the guy who has owned the establishment was hanging out at the White House somehow. I mean, is your local pizza man spending some weekends at the White House with Obama, bringing in ping pong tables? Yeah, it's real normal. And, of course, posting pictures of children who are completely nude, holding dollar signs and pizza over their crotch. Yeah, I'm sure that's all coincidence, too, in regards to the crescent moon and the pentagram upside down, of course, as always. So all of these astronauts, supposed astronauts, is all a show, obviously. It's a spectacle. They're all Freemasons. Look at all these guys who are Freemasons who have supposedly... flown into space, who are astronauts, who go through NASA, right? And of course, with the Apollo 11 lunar mission, for those of you that don't know, they actually brought, on their pretend mission to the moon, which they never went to, but they brought to the green screen. It was really important that they did this little flag, this little banner that said Supreme Council 33rd degree Southern jurisdiction. Oh, it's not make-believe. Listen for yourself.
Hi. I'm Joshua Poole, Museum Curator here at the Scottish Rite House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. Today it is my pleasure to be able to speak to you about the Scottish Rite flag that went to the moon in 1969. Knowing that Buzz Aldrin would be taking part in the Apollo 11 mission, the Supreme Council thought it would be nice if he could take something Masonic with him to infinity and beyond. because he was going where no man, or Mason for that matter, had ever gone before. See what I did there? The Supreme Council felt that a flag that represented the Supreme Council and Freemasonry in general would do the job. So the flag was hand-sewn by Inga Baum, who was the librarian of the Supreme Council in 1969. The flag itself is white silk. It is edged by a band of gold and embroidered with the words, the Supreme Council, 33rd degree, Southern Jurisdiction, USA, the Southern Jurisdiction motto, Deus me umque jus, the double-headed eagle, the crown of the 33rd degree, the insignia of the Grand Commander, and the insignia of a Master Mason. After the Apollo 11 mission on September 16, 1969, Buzz Aldrin visited the House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. and presented the flag to Grand Commander Luther Smith. Since then, the flag has remained in the custody of the House of the Temple's Archives and Museum Department. In an article about the Buzz Aldrin flag in the December 1969 issue of the New Age magazine, the historical significance of the Apollo 11 mission and its meaning for Masonry were discussed. So, does the landing on the moon have anything to do with Masonry? I think this article put it nicely by ending with this quote: "When man reaches new worlds, Masonry will be there." This flag's presence during the historic lunar expedition symbolizes Masonry's universal appeal. Masonry has been at the forefront of progress and human enlightenment since its beginnings, and will continue to be. This flag serves as a reminder of this. So, Masonry will always be there and will continue to boldly go where no man has gone before.
And again, that's a proud Freemason talking about how proud he is that Freemasons went to the moon, and a big step for Freemasonry, of course, just like most of these Masons. Dull as a turd with his bow tie, personality like a dead moth. You listen to these guys talk, I mean, right? But these are the controllers. These are these dweebs that go, looking for fellowship, and they join these secret societies, and they have no faith in Christ. They start worshiping Satan because, of course, that's what they're taught. Lucifer is God is what they're taught in Freemasonry, and then these guys end up in prominent positions, whether they're running museums or controlling corporations, or, of course, your senators, your governors, and in your local town, you'll see them on the school boards and everywhere else manipulating your town and following, obviously, the agendas that they're told to follow, and that's how they've infiltrated everything. But if you look at this little banner here, right, Supreme Council, 33rd degree, what's interesting to note, of course, is that you see the Freemasonic symbol next to the double-headed eagle, but what you also notice is that sigil on the left-hand side. That's the sigil of Baphomet. So I guess Baphomet's been to the moon too, right? We had a little sigil for Baphomet there. I mean, Aleister Crowley used to sign when he signed things. I don't know if he was given autographs back then, but he signed documents, whatever. Even like this photo where he even signed with the OTO. Baphomet, 33rd degree Aleister Crowley, Baphomet X, right? And of course, Aleister Crowley has a lot to do with the creation of NASA. Aleister Crowley, the man who called himself the Beast, literally the Beast, with Jack Parsons and the experiments that were done, of course, that led to the creation of NASA. And I've covered this many times. The videos are available on the website about Jack Parsons even getting glorified in that show Strange Angel, where they show you in the show, hey, Jack Parsons, he's one of the creators of jet propulsion. He's a pioneer for rocket engineering, and of course, which later became NASA, all, of course, with occult origins, right? So the other thing that's going on now, because of this April Fool's joke that's being played on the public, of course, they believe whatever they hear. I mean, they believe everything that comes out, even though a lot of them pretend that they don't believe it. They believe that Trump was, supposedly there was assassination attempts on his life, when it was clearly all about that photo shoot, that shot that they took. I said it on that specific day that it was actually occurred. To pay attention to the shot of him pumping his fist and how important that would be in the psychosis to move forward. And now we see the psychosis, right? Trump could do no wrong. He can come out in a New World Order t-shirt and these people will defend him, right? We're seeing it by his actions, the data centers, the stuff with Israel and Iran. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. And he's even talking about 6G getting underneath your skin. They still dismiss this stuff, literally mark of the beast type stuff. So they'll believe whatever they hear. So they're putting out stuff like CNN, mission to the moon. 3 reasons NASA can't yet land humans on the moon again. Because in case you're actually going, oh, wait, I thought we were going to the moon today. No. We're just doing something completely pointless. We're sending something up with people in it, and we're circling around the moon. Of course, nothing is actually occurring. they'll shoot this into the sky and, of course, land it somewhere else where, of course, you're not allowed to go, some restricted government area where they do these things. Sometimes the ocean, sometimes the desert, whatever, right? People will believe, you're crazy. They would never do something like that. Probably nobody even obviously in the actual aircraft. These are all, actors, and they're, as you heard in the clip earlier, they're even pushing the Mars stuff with Devon Island in that clip. Oh, we're going to go check out the moon, because it's important for us so we can eventually habitat on Mars, right? Just like the script. Project Mars, right? Just following the script. We can't get people back to the moon, but we're apparently going to live on Mars, right? That makes perfect sense with everything they've told us over the years, right? We all know it's all lies, but even if you listen to the nonsense and you believe the nonsense they've told us about the moon landing and space and being able to go to planets, it's absolutely, people should say that's absurd. We can't even get to the moon. How are we going to go live and habitat Mars? But of course, they're talking about Devon Island. And they're talking about great deceptions that are coming, of course, with technology and how they're going to deceive you very easily with AI and other things into believing all of this stuff. I'm just surprised that they're not actually pretending to put people on the moon finally. But because of the fact that I'm surprised, their AI is so much farther advanced than the AI that they've released to us, which is obviously really, really good. I mean, you see some of the stuff, it's scary, knowing that they can easily deep fake you, showing you in a place that you weren't, and saying, oh, look, you were there. You don't have an alibi. You committed a murder. You're going to jail for the rest. They could frame anybody. So just imagine the actual AI that they have. You would think that they'd be able to maybe actually fake the moon landing, but they know that people will sit there and dissect it, and they know people are so stupid they can tell them whatever they want. So this big mission to the moon is just, we're going to circle around the moon. We're going to get some fake CGI photographed AI photographs. They're going to give it to us, and we're supposed to ooh and ah. Then everybody will debate whether it's real or not. They won't really care because they're never held accountable. Right? But let me play this clip for you from CNN because it's completely comical how they're telling us all these years later, after supposedly men were walking the moon, you would think by now that they'd be sitting on the moon in lawn chairs, supposedly, since they went there all these years later, right? We would have advanced. Why we can't get back.
After 50 years, NASA is sending humans on a path back to the moon. It's a multi-billion-dollar mission called Artemis 2. And it's a critical test run before landing. So essentially, it's a very expensive flyby.
But we already landed on the moon, back when we were still using rotary phones. So why all this fuss for just a test run? And why not just land again? Well, there's a few big reasons why. And the first one is financial.
NASA began the Apollo program in the 1960s. Back then, astronauts used a fully integrated system, rocket, command module, and lunar lander. Lander is the important thing here. Private contractors helped build Apollo, but NASA maintained oversight and control. And this was the height of the space race with the Soviets. The Apollo program was a huge national investment, but NASA doesn't have Apollo money anymore. For Artemis, NASA has built the Orion spacecraft and a rocket to get crew from Earth to lunar orbit. But for the lunar lander, the agency decided to bring in SpaceX and Blue Origin. It's up to those companies to figure out how to get the astronauts from NASA's spacecraft down to the moon's surface.
NASA wrote a check to SpaceX and Blue Origin for a few $1 billion each. And they're supposed to be taking that money and figure out how to build a functional lunar lander. But they still have a long way to go. At least that's how it appears.
The burning fragments that fell from the sky after SpaceX's Starship exploded.
Still, one of these vehicles is supposed to be part of NASA's actual moon landing later this decade.
Reason 2, NASA doesn't have all the tools it needs for a touchdown. For Apollo, we landed near the moon's equator. And since the program ended in 1972, the US has only been sending astronauts to low Earth orbit, first with the space shuttle, and now with SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsules. But for Artemis, NASA's long-term goal is to eventually build a base on the south pole of the moon. Why the South Pole? Well, it's home to water ice, an incredibly powerful space resource that can be converted to rocket fuel or even just used for drinking. It takes more fuel to land at the South Pole. The terrain's more rugged, and there are a lot of communications and power issues to sort out. Reason 3, Orion is chunky. It's a big, heavy spacecraft.
And the reason NASA built Orion the way it did has a lot to do with politics and jobs. But the thing to know is, because it's so big, Orion can't go into low orbit around the moon all by itself. That makes lunar landing more complicated. So to get to the moon and back, NASA needs a pretty powerful lunar lander that's nimble enough to navigate such a difficult mission. Both SpaceX's and Blue Origin's lunar landers may still be years away from flying with a crew. SpaceX plans to put its Starship mega rocket, which was originally designed for Mars travel, up for the task. That vehicle is still a prototype. Meanwhile, Blue Origin is building a more traditional-looking lunar lander, but the public hasn't had a chance to see it fly just yet. The company is still working to get a test flight off the ground.
Keep in mind, a successful Artemis 2 mission will be an incredible achievement, and it's important for astronauts to test systems and equipment on Orion. But NASA and its partners still have a lot of work to do before astronauts can take that next small step on the moon.
I mean, it's completely laughable. Even the stuff that they show them, because they're showing you obviously stock footage and, AI in the clips. This picture, you know what I mean? They're showing you a guy, he's holding the moon dust in his hand on his knee. But people would see this picture and they would think that it was a real picture. Right? Of course, it's not a real picture of a man on the moon, right? So they could easily dupe people with the technology they have. People are so easily deceived. And of course, I mean, they mock us with this stuff, right? Fly Me to the Moon. I covered that when that movie was released, right? What's the plot of the movie? Well, the plot of the movie, of course, is Kelly Jones is hired to improve NASA's public image. She clashes with launch director Cole Davis while secretly being tasked with staging a fake moon landing as a backup plan. I mean, truth in plain sight, right? Staging the moon landing. Of course, Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson were the main leads in the film. Two Illuminati puppets who I've exposed over the years. We've seen Channing obviously doing the all-seeing eye symbolism among many other things, including promoting Adreno. Here he is on a magazine cover for The Hollywood Reporter. ScarJo, same thing, doing the all-seeing eye symbolism over and over. This image of her holding up the goat, of course. The goat, I mean, it's unbelievable how obvious this stuff is, right? I mean, it looks eerily similar to the picture that we've seen of Marina Abramovich as well over the years, right? And of course, ScarJo doing the all-seeing eye symbolism on the poster for Lucy, right, as in Lucifer, a movie, of course, where you could see right here, even with the pentagram with the black goo, which is about the transformation, right? That black goo that we see over and over and over again that many people already have inside of their body. So April Fools, ladies and gentlemen, Artemis is supposedly heading to the moon. We'll have people out there who obviously are going to defend whatever the government does because they're complete buffoons. I love how these people think that it makes them intelligent, like they're more intelligent than people like us. Like we don't, they don't know what degrees any of us have. I probably have more degrees than some of these people. That's not something to be proud of. I think the only thing I'd be proud of, even though I don't have any pride here, is having these degrees, being indoctrinated, and then breaking free from it, not having a narcissist complex where you say, oh no, everything I learned, and you realize, you waste so many years of your life. We wasted so many years of our lives being trained in lies, which is why I still do this, to try to break people free from the lies. That's the only motivation for me, is that there's people out there who believe this stuff because they're just told this stuff. They don't understand how the mind works, how repetition is the key to mind, because why they keep you in the schools for so long. Nobody goes, why are we in school? Why do we go all the way to 8th grade? They're like, oh, well, maybe because our parents are both at work and we need a babysitter, so we might as well get to learn stuff. And you learn the same crap over and over and over. What really changes? Oh, math? Is that what changes? Where you learn, you go from addition, subtraction, things that you could use in day-to-day life, to learning things like, that have absolutely no daily value to you, where you're just like, what, trying to figure out these puzzles of, oh, yes, pi divided by, 7 circumference over cubic squares divided by that. And you're like, huh? Oh, what? Yeah, it's really going to help you in day-to-day life. They never teach you anything in school of value. No real trade unless you take wood shop, maybe home ec. I mean, you learn how to cook a couple brownies. I mean, other than that, you learn nothing. But the whole purpose of it is to indoctrinate you with lies. So by the time your brain isn't a sponge anymore, when you're 20, then everything's kind of set. They let you loose into society, and all you do is just continue to repeat the lies that you've been taught and pretend like, oh, well, this guy must not have gone to school. He must have been a dropout, a call for. He doesn't understand about the moon landing and all this stuff because I saw it on TV, and the school told me that it actually happened, right? And I can't explain why we went back. Oh, wait, I can explain why we haven't gone back. Because CNN has put out so much propaganda, I'll just repeat what they say. Oh, we haven't gone back because it's dangerous for them. Oh, was it dangerous for the guys back then who supposedly? Oh, well, this is why we haven't gone back to the moon. I'm just going to repeat it, and you're an idiot because you're questioning what CNN is telling you. You're questioning what Big Brother is telling you. Oh, yeah, they don't have any nefarious agendas, do they? I mean, all you got to do is look at Agenda 2030 to see how sick their agendas are. Right? They put they put beautiful colors behind it and tell you that this is all wonderful, equality and all this stuff. Yeah, they're talking about equal slavery is what they're talking about. Taking away everything that you have and making you equal with people who have nothing. Because if you have something, they want to make sure you have nothing. And the people who have nothing, they want to make sure that you don't gain anything. And that they're the ones who have it all and can have total control over all of us. So the bogus moon, I'm sure we're going to get hilarious photographs. But I mean, this is a Freemason operation. All these guys are Masons, just like the stuff I discussed with Jeff Bezos' ridiculous Blue Origin, the giant penis, the phallus that they sent up into the air with Katy Perry that just comes back down. Remember the door opening, right? They pretended they had to latch the door open, actually open from the inside. They pushed it open. Remember that? I mean, it was unbelievable. That video is available on the website as well. All this stuff I've broken down. It's so, I mean, the fact that people convinced that, it's a pride thing. You could show them this stuff every single day where they should be questioning it or going, oh yeah, that looks really fake. But they're so prideful, they don't want to believe that they've been duped their whole lives, that they've wasted their lives, that they've, put their emotions into believing this crap. And, people who have been educated in history, for example, who are history majors, you can't tell them it. These are history majors. So they're like, well, I majored in history. So what? What does that mean? So that you learned the lie more than me? So that you had it beaten into you more than I did because you went to extra years of schooling to learn fake history about World War II and the well, we won't get into that, but everything else that we've been told, right? And they just go, oh, he doesn't know. You tell two people on the street, one guy will be like, well, I have a master's in history. I'm a professor of history. No, they'll listen to them over people like us because they just say that. And they've been taught, oh, well, he's got a history background. He knows more about history, right? He knows more about the lie. And he believes the lie even more, which means it's harder to wake him up because he doesn't want to believe in reality. He wants to continue to believe the lie because he's invested in the lie. Right? Most of these people are invested in the lie. You talk to people from the era of the first moon landing, right? They don't want to believe that it's fake because it's this emotional attachment. Oh, I was 7 years old and I was in front of the TV. Who cares? Let it go. Go see a therapist. I was in front of I saw it with my own eyes. Oh, you saw it with your own eyes, right? You saw it in your eyes quickly flash in front of you. There was no VCR. There's no way to rewind it and rewatch it and evaluate. Nobody was thinking at the time, hey, could the government be faking news? Because at the time, right, the boomer era and all that, that was the time in America where you could work at the grocery store bagging groceries and be a homeowner. So people were just living the dream. Everybody was wealthy, to a degree. Everybody was taken care. Everybody was able to buy a house and all this. So people weren't questioning how bad the government was. They were just like, oh, everything's wonderful. We went to the moon. Yay. The bad guys over there. It's all these other countries. America's great. And then they would just get you with the Star-Spangled Banner and saluting your flag, And I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, really, it's the way it was. People were so happy in a sense back then that they wouldn't even think to question the moon landing. So people now who are, much older who witnessed it, they're like, I don't know. No way, man. Because it's something, they grew up with their childhood with that they don't want to let go. Right? But you got to be able to let it go if you want to wake up. Otherwise, you're living in a false reality. And you end up like these suckers like Professor Douche, over there with his big growing nose. I mean, his nose is prominent for a reason. Obviously, he's a bagel. Those guys, they have big schnozzers. But his nose looks like it's growing on a day-to-day basis because channels like that just do nothing but produce lies. They go out there to their dumbed-down audience who also, we're all educated. Well, so we're all of us. We all went to school too. We all went to college too. Unfortunately, wasted time and money. We're just the ones who are actually smarter and not narcissistic because we were able to pull ourselves out of the lie. So we landed on the moon, ladies and gentlemen, as Dumb and Dumber said. Dumb, dumber, dumbest, if you actually believe any of this crap. But they're, of course, doing this on April 1st, April Fool's Day, for a reason. To just continue to rub it in the faces of the dumbest society to ever exist. Because with the technology and everything we have now, society has never been this incompetent, and this dumbed down. So the government can easily say, let's do it on April Fool's Day. And even though the conspiracy nuts will say, oh my gosh, they're doing it on April Fool's Day, the sheeple out there won't even blink, because these are the same sheeple that are still wearing masks. These are the same sheeple that were yelling at you to put poison in your body, even though they were poisoning themselves during COVID. And they should have been, by definition, immune and not have to worry about other people who weren't vaccinated, right? Because by definition, if you're vaccinated, oh, you're protected and you're fine. So if I'm not, you shouldn't worry about being near me. You know, if you want to worry and say, oh, you might die, I'm scared you're going to die. Well, okay. But being worried about you getting sick, huh? The whole purpose of the vaccine is so that you don't get sick. You can't get sick. So you shouldn't worry about people who don't get it. But all these idiots who complain to be, they all praise themselves and call themselves professors. They go, oh my gosh, I can't be near. You need to go get the vaccine. Huh? What? I mean, these are the same people. They're complete fools. As the science changes, so do their thoughts. Their mind is completely just moldable still. All they believe is what's fed to them from the government. And, again, if people fell for COVID, the government could come out, obviously, and tell you on April Fool's Day that we're going back to the moon, and it's just a coincidence that it's April 1st, right? Because they know that none of these people will look at it as the government just laughing in your face at how stupid you really are. But that's the truth of the matter. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.